The conference room air hung thick with a stale scent of burnt coffee and recycled ambition, the fluorescent lights buzzing like angry hornets overhead. I sat at the far end of the polished oak table, my fingers drumming a silent rhythm on my laptop, pretending to review the quarterly projections. That's when Marcus Hale, the new CEO fresh from some Silicon Valley startup graveyard, leaned back in his leather chair. His designer tie a noose of arrogance, and fixed his shark-like eyes on me. "Ilara," he said, his voice slicing through the murmurs like a knife through silk. "Let's be frank. You're overpaid. Severely. For what? Pushing pixels and schmoozing clients who could probably do your job with an AI bot." The room froze. My colleagues' heads swiveled, eyes wide with the morbid fascination of witnesses to a public execution. Heat exploded in my chest, a volcanic rush that burned up my throat, turning my vision red at the edges. I stood, chair scraping like nails on chalkboard, and walked out, door slamming behind me with a thunderclap that echoed my shattering dignity. In that moment, as I stormed down the sterile hallway, fists clenched until my nails drew blood, I didn't just quit. I ignited a war. Humiliation clawed at me like a living thing as I shoved through the glass doors of Apex Innovations, the tech firm I'd bled for over 8 years. The autumn wind whipped my face, carrying the distant honk of New York traffic, but it couldn't cool the inferno inside. Overpaid. Me. The woman who'd single-handedly landed the multimillion-dollar contracts that kept this sinking ship afloat. My mind raced back to the late nights, the red-eye flights to seal deals in Tokyo boardrooms where the air reeked of sake and desperation. I'd built the client portfolio from scratch, turning obscure startups into loyal whales that funneled 60% of our revenue. And Marcus. He'd waltzed in 3 months ago, a golden parachute from a failed venture, spouting buzzwords like disruption, while gutting the team that actually disrupted anything. Betrayal wasn't just professional. It felt personal, a dagger twisted by a man who'd never earned his stripes. As I hailed a cab, the driver's radio blaring some forgotten pop song, I whispered to myself, "He'll pay. They'll all pay." But even then, doubt flickered. Was this rage or madness? Back in my cramped Brooklyn apartment, the walls closing in like judgmental spectators, I paced the worn hardwood floors, the creak underfoot mirroring the fracture in my soul. Heartbreak mingled with the anger. Apex wasn't just a job. It was my identity, forged in the fires of a broken home where my father's abandonment taught me success was the only armor. I'd risen from intern to VP of sales, my commissions a fortress against the void. Now, stripped bare in front of peers I'd mentored, resentment brewed like poison. I poured a glass of cheap Merlot, the tart bite on my tongue sharpening my thoughts. Fantasies swirled, storming back in, exposing Marcus's padded resume, or worse, slashing tires in the executive lot under cover of night. But no, that was crude, impulsive. Revenge, true revenge, demanded precision, a scalpel not a sledgehammer. I collapsed onto the sagging couch, staring at the city skyline twinkling mockingly through the window, and began to plan. What if I didn't just leave? What if I took something with me? The next morning, sunlight pierced the blinds like accusatory fingers, pulling me from a fitful sleep haunted by echoes of laughter from that meeting. Guilt nipped at the edges of my resolve. Had I overreacted? Marcus's words replayed, each syllable a lash. Overpaid, irrelevant. No, this was justified. I booted up my personal laptop, the fan whirring like a conspirator, and logged into the cloud drive where I'd backed up client contacts years ago, a habit born from paranoia. There they were, emails, notes, the lifeblood of Apex's revenue stream. Legally mine. Gray area. Morally. After that humiliation, morality was a luxury. I sipped black coffee, its bitterness fueling my obsession, and started drafting messages. Subtle at first, reaching out to key clients under the guise of personal updates. "Hey, Raj at Quantum Labs," I typed, fingers flying. "Just checking in post my departure from Apex. Hope all's well." Innocuous, but laced with implication. Doubt crept in. What if they stayed loyal? What if this backfired, branding me a saboteur? As days blurred into a haze of takeout boxes and unanswered job applications, the quiet calculation took hold. I met Sarah, my former assistant, at a dingy coffee shop in Midtown, the espresso machine hissing like suppressed secrets. She slid into the booth, her eyes darting, clutching a latte like a shield. "Ilara, what the hell happened? The office is chaos without you." Her voice was a whisper laced with fear. I leaned in, the steam from my mug curling between us, and probed gently. "Tell me about Marcus. Any dirt?" She hesitated, biting her lip, then spilled. He'd been fired from his last gig for embezzling petty cash, covered up with NDAs. Rage surged anew, but I masked it with a sympathetic nod. "Thanks, Sarah. Keep your head down." Walking away, the sidewalk crowds a blur of indifferent faces. I felt the first thrill of power. This wasn't just about money. It was reclaiming my worth, piece by bloody piece. Obsession deepened as I shadowed Marcus online, the glow of my screen illuminating my darkened room like a vigil. LinkedIn profiles, old articles. He was a charlatan, charming his way up while stepping on spines. Heartbreak twisted into cold resolve. I'd loved Apex like a family, and he'd desecrated it. A call came from Elena at Nexus Corp, one of our biggest clients. "Ilara, heard you left. Everything okay?" Her tone was warm, concerned. I feigned nonchalance, the phone cool against my ear. "Yeah, creative differences. But hey, if you're ever looking for freelance consulting." The seed planted. That night, rain pattering against the window like impatient fingers, I mapped it out, poached the client subtly, erode Apex's base without fingerprints. Fear gnawed, lawsuits, blacklisting, but resentment drowned it. This was poetic. They'd called me overpaid. I'd show them my true value by its absence. Tension built in stolen moments. At a networking event in a swanky rooftop bar, the city lights sprawling below like a conquered kingdom, I bumped into Tom, Apex's CFO. His tie askew, gin on his breath. He cornered me by the railing. "Ilara, come back. Marcus is an idiot." He didn't mean it. Suppressed rage bubbled. I smiled thinly, wind tousling my hair. "Too late, Tom. Water under the bridge." But inside, fantasies raged, pushing him over the edge, watching his regret plummet. Instead, I excused myself, heart pounding, and texted another client. Subtle hints accumulated. Whispers of Apex's instability, Marcus's incompetence. Guilt resurfaced in quiet hours, staring at the ceiling fan's lazy spin. Was I becoming the monster? No, this was survival, justice wrapped in vengeance. By week's end, the first crack appeared. An email from Raj. "Switching vendors. Appreciate your honesty, Ilara." Elation mixed with dread. Revenue would dip, but not yet catastrophic. I imagined Marcus's face, that smug grin cracking as reports came in. The apartment felt smaller, walls echoing my isolation, but resolve hardened. Moral conflict raged, betraying colleagues who'd done nothing, but they hadn't defended me, had they? Silent accomplices. As I drifted to sleep, the city's hum a lullaby of unrest. I knew. This was just the beginning. The slow burn had ignited, and Apex would feel the heat. The following Monday, I ventured out to a park bench overlooking the Hudson, the water churning gray and restless like my thoughts. A jogger passed, oblivious, while I scrolled through Apex's public filings on my phone, the screen's glare stinging my eyes. Revenue projections still rosy, for now. Inner doubt whispered, "Walk away, start fresh." But humiliation's scar throbbed, a constant reminder. I called my sister Lena, her voice crackling over the line from Chicago. "Ilara, don't do anything stupid. Revenge eats you alive." Her concern pierced, stirring guilt, but I brushed it off. "I'm fine. Just venting." Hanging up, the wind carrying fairy horns, obsession reclaimed me. That evening, in the dim light of my kitchen, chopping vegetables with mechanical precision, I outlined Phase 2. Deeper infiltration. Sarah texted. Layoffs rumored. Marcus blaming market shifts. A smirk tugged my lips, the knife's slice through onion mirroring my intent. Cold resolve settled like frost. This wasn't impulse anymore. It was strategy. I replied cautiously, planting more seeds. As night fell, shadows lengthening across the floor, foreshadowing crept in, a vague unease that my web might ensnare me too. But the pursuit consumed, a drug I couldn't quit. Weeks turned the screw tighter. Client after client nibbled at my bait, their emails a symphony of defection. At a clandestine lunch with Elena, in a bustling diner where clinking silverware masked our words, she confided, "Apex is fumbling our account. Marcus micromanages like a tyrant." I nodded, fork spearing salad leaves, suppressing triumph. I could help independently. Agreement sealed with a handshake, her grip firm, mine electric with vengeance. Returning home, the subway's rumble vibrating through me, moral grayness loomed. These clients trusted me, but I was using them as pawns. Guilt twisted, but resentment overpowered. Marcus had started this. The turning point came in a storm-lashed evening, thunder rumbling like divine judgment. Alone in my apartment, lightning flashing across the walls, I tallied the losses. 3 major accounts gone, whispers of more. Apex's stock dipped 8%. Public humiliation for Marcus. Elation surged, but so did fear. What if they traced it back? Paranoia set in, checking locks twice, jumping at shadows. Inner conflict peaked. Hero or villain? The line blurred. As rain hammered the roof, I vowed, one more push, then stop. But deep down, I knew the obsession wouldn't release me. The boardroom at Nexus Corp gleamed with corporate sterility, glass walls reflecting the Manhattan skyline like a distorted mirror of my fractured resolve. Elena leaned forward, her manicured nails tapping the marble table, as I pitched my freelance services. "Ilara, you're a lifesaver." Apex dropped the ball hard. Her words were honey, but inside guilt gnawed. This was betrayal amplified, poaching from the grave I'd dug. As I shook her hand, the cool metal of her ring pressing into my palm, suspense coiled tighter. Back on the street, horns blaring in chaotic symphony, I checked my phone. Another defection confirmed. Revenue hemorrhaging, 30% down already. Cold resolve masked the heartbeat thundering in my ears. This was the slow burn erupting. Marcus's LinkedIn post popped up that night, a desperate facade. Excited about Apex's pivot to innovation. Comments trickled in, skeptical. In my dimly lit bedroom, the blue screen glow casting eerie shadows, resentment flared anew. He'd humiliated me publicly. Now his empire crumbled privately. But obsession bred doubt. Had I gone too far? Sleep evaded, replaced by visions of fallout. Jobless colleagues, families strained. Moral conflict raged like the storm outside, wind howling through cracks. Yet the pursuit pulled stronger, a siren's call to finish what I'd started. Sarah called the next day, her voice trembling over the cafe's ambient chatter where I nursed a latte. "Ilara, it's bad. Marcus is furious, blaming sabotage. They're auditing everything." Tension spiked, my grip tightening on the cup, steam rising like warning smoke. "Stay out of it," I urged, but inside, fear bloomed, fingerprints. I hung up, the bustling crowd a camouflage for my paranoia. Walking home through leaf-strewn streets, autumn's chill seeping into my bones, I plotted the final strike. The crown jewel client, global tech, worth 20% alone. Contacting them risked exposure, but revenge demanded it. At a discreet bar meet with Raj from Quantum, dim lights flickering over whiskey glasses, he confided. "Marcus called, begging us back. Said you'd badmouthed them." Suppressed rage simmered. I swirled my drink, ice clinking like accusations. "He's lying. I just shared facts." Raj nodded, but his eyes held doubt, heightening the suspense. Leaving, the neon signs blurring in the rain-slicked night, guilt assaulted. Raj had kids, this could hurt innocence. Inner thoughts warred. Justice or selfishness? The line vanished in the downpour. As defections mounted, Apex's internal leaks flooded my inbox via anonymous tips. Sarah, perhaps. Marcus's emails ranted about disloyalty. His composure cracking. In my apartment, pacing amid scattered notes, the walls seemed to close in, atmosphere thick with impending doom. Heartbreak resurfaced. I'd built that company, now dismantling it brick by brick. A fantasy gripped, confronting Marcus, watching him beg. But strategy prevailed. One email to Global Tech's CEO, veiled in concern. No turning back. The payoff loomed as revenue reports hit the wires. 41% drop. Stock plummeted, headlines screaming apex in crisis. Elation mixed with horror. I'd done it. But twist awaited. A knock shattered the silence one evening, rain pattering outside. Through the peephole, Marcus, disheveled, eyes wild. Heart pounding, I opened the door a crack, chain taut. "Ilara," he rasped, voice raw with desperation. "You did this." "Why?" Dialogue crackled with tension. "You called me overpaid. Humiliated me." He stepped closer, breath sour. "It was a tactic to motivate." "I didn't mean." Laughter bubbled from me, bitter. "Motivate. You destroyed me." His face twisted, revealing layers. Not just arrogance, but insecurity, a man haunted by failures. "Please help fix it. I'll pay you double." Temptation flickered. Guilt's last gasp, but resolve held. Too late. As he left, shoulders slumped, the door clicking shut, a shocking twist unfolded via text from Sarah. Marcus embezzled. Board knows. He's out. Poetic justice. My revenge unearthed his sins, accelerating his fall. But unexpected consequences hit. Apex offered me the CEO spot. Moral grayness enveloped. Accept and rebuild or walk away. In the quiet, rain easing to drips. Cold resolve thawed into reflection. Revenge satisfied, but at what cost? Heartbreak healed, obsession released, I chose neither. Starting anew, scars a badge of survival. Yet, in the story's lingering echo, doubt remained. Was I avenged or just another betrayer? The revenue drop was my mark, but the true twist. My own transformation into something harder, unforgiving. Justice, it seemed, cut both ways.